Hello everyone! Today's video is a review of 1955's To Catch a Thief, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. This movie unites Cary Grant and Grace Kelly on the French Riviera. Grant plays John Roby, a long-retired cat burglar whose peace and tranquility at his cozy, secluded villa are disturbed when a copycat pulls off a series of jewel thefts. The Sûreté are determined to pin the crimes on him, so he sets about unmasking the copycat cat burglar himself by identifying the next victims. This is a well-liked Hitchcock film, thanks in large part to the enduring popularity of its stars. It's also one of his lightest films in terms of plot and atmosphere, therefore it's considered by many to be more accessible than some of his other films. This is the third of 4 Hitchcock films Cary Grant starred in, and the last of 3 that Grace Kelly made. Kelly plays Francie Stevens, a wealthy young woman on vacation with her mother, played by Jessie Royce Landis. Not only did Jessie Royce Landis again play Grace Kelly's mother the following year in The Swan, she also played Cary Grant's mother in 1959's North by Northwest, despite being several years younger than him. Character actor John Williams also plays a supporting role as the insurance claims agent who agrees to assist John Roby by giving him insider information. Williams and Kelly previously worked with Hitchcock on 1954's Dial M for Murder. He also made a mute appearance in The Paradine Case. Oh man, it's been such a long time since I reviewed that movie that I can't remember how it's supposed to be pronounced. Oh well! To Catch a Thief won an Academy Award for its cinematography, and it is a lovely film to look at, with beautiful shots showcasing French architecture and scenery. Often the stunning vistas, I dare say it, outshine the appeal of the lead actors. It's basically a travelogue with a little plot thrown in there, and if you're a fan of the French Riviera, well, this is a movie for you. Supposedly Hitchcock took the project because he wanted a vacation in the south of France. Pretty ingenious way to combine business and pleasure. He was smart when it came to making full use of the natural scenery, and had his crew devise a mount for the camera so that they could shoot scenes from a helicopter, something that wasn't common at the time. And did I mention this was filmed in glorious Technicolor? And the scenery isn't the only splendiferous thing to look at. The clothes! Oh my goodness, the clothes! Edith had designed the costumes, including the whole parade of outfits Grace Kelly wears. This movie only covers the span of a few days, yet on one of those days she wears a morning dress, a going-to-the-beach outfit, a bathing suit, a sundress for driving, and a white evening gown. Plus there are several other outfits we see her in, oh so briefly, each one distinct in its simplicity and elegance. The exception to that simplicity, and the pièce de résistance for the costume department, is the extravagant gold gown she wears to the climactic 18th century costume party. All of the costumes and wigs on display in that sequence are striking, but Edith Head outdid herself with this one. As much as I appreciate and drool over these costumes, though, especially that blue chiffon evening gown, I'm assuming it's chiffon, I don't actually know. I don't know anything about clothes. They don't beat Grace Kelly's wardrobe in Rear Window. For me, that's still a peak of Hollywood costuming. Grant's wardrobe is much simpler. A tuxedo, a gray suit, similar to the suit he wears all through North by Northwest. His most distinctive clothing is a casual and very French black and white striped shirt. From a purely aesthetic standpoint, I must admit I'm not a fan of this shirt. I don't know, maybe the horizontal stripes or the neckline, it just doesn't do it for me. But personal taste aside, to my way of thinking, it's supposed to call to mind a convict's stripes. John Roby is on parole. He was serving jail time when the prison was bombed by the Germans. He broke out and became a French resistance hero. It's a pity we didn't get to see any of this. It's a really interesting backstory.
Did you kill many people?
72.
He received a pardon as thanks, but the shirt seems to reflect that while he may not have stolen anything in the last 15 years, he's still a marked man, the first one the police will suspect at any sign of trouble. It's a different take on Hitchcock's beloved wrong man plot. They've just replaced suspicion of murder with suspicion of jewel theft. Roby's a huge fan of the truth, but he's also a bit of a cynic, no doubt because he's tired of having to prove his honesty to a skeptical world. Regarding his label as a hardened criminal, he views himself as having only done frankly and professionally the same thing other people do all the time on a lesser scale and get away with. I don't find myself warming up to him much, but I'm not sure that you're supposed to. He's a bit distant with people. Part of that is a deep-rooted sense of self-preservation, and part of it is a practical effort to maintain his disguise as a lumber tycoon from Oregon. I like him best when he shows his awareness of the growing absurdity of the situation, his frustration coming out in the kind of exasperated quips that Grant could deliver so well. Aside from this huge pickle he's in, having the police on his tail and the threat of going back to jail hanging over his head, and also having enemies in another quarter, what really makes me feel bad for him, though, is the way he becomes the involuntary prey of two younger women who have odd and childish ways of getting what they want. Danielle is a French girl he's known since the Resistance days, played by Brigitte Aubert. She teases him relentlessly about being back in the cat burglary business, and keeps bringing up this notion that the two of them should flee to South America together, where she'll cook and clean and do whatever else he wants for him. Whether that's a joke or not, it's obvious she craves his attention, but his response suggests he doesn't take her seriously. For a while there, the film goes into love triangle territory. There's a zesty conversation in the water where Francie and Danielle exchange polite insults, Roby making a pretty poor referee.
Say something nice to her, Danielle.
She looks a lot older up close.
Uh-oh.
And there's a wonderful little moment at the end of this scene, I'm not sure if it was a mistake or what, where Grace Kelly says her line about going back to the shore, and Cary Grant looks directly at the camera for a split second and laughs.
Enjoying yourself, Mr. Burns?
Oh, it's very nice out here, you know, the sun and all.
Well, it's too much for me. I'll see you at the hotel.
Oh, come with.
As Roby comes to find out, Grace Kelly's character, Francie, is a complicated person with some unusual quirks. Her mother is a fabulously rich woman who doesn't mind showing her humble origins. She's nouveau riche and very blunt about it. Our first impression of Francie is the complete opposite. She seems prim and proper as she sits like an iceberg next to Roby and barely speaks to him. And then, out of nowhere, when he walks her to her room, she kisses him before closing the door, as if to say, I'm not as prim and proper as you think. That's a very famous kiss right there. Then the following day, she makes this aggressive play to monopolize his time and attention, and in my opinion, he's not nearly as perturbed by this as he should be. With two such attractive and popular stars, you kind of assume you know how things are gonna go, but I find their relationship a little strange. I don't know, the way he talks to her in the car, assessing her background and her character, it doesn't sound like he likes her at all. He's critical and almost making fun of her, albeit in a subtle way. And the way he looks at her whenever she reappears in a new, stunning outfit, he's doing the Cary Grant thing, but it's also as if he's inspecting a bizarre specimen. It's humorous, but to me, it doesn't really suggest attraction. Maybe we're supposed to think, duh, it's Grace Kelly, that goes without saying. But his interest doesn't seem particularly engaged during their little date. The way they converse has that artificial, we're rich people who gallivant around the Mediterranean tone, and it has me wishing that they would just drop the facade already and start really talking to each other. The more he gets to know her, the more she unsettles him, but not exactly in a good way. I don't know, he just seems uncomfortable around her. And during the villa tour, he's only half invested in their conversation because he's keeping an eye out for the guys who are tailing him. I find that disengagement disappointing. Even when follow-up interactions, the one in the car and the one in the hotel room, become love scenes, there's still a distance between these two, a gap that never closes. Even at the end, I feel like, yeah, they haven't really connected. I like to see people connect, and I don't feel like it happens here. I do really enjoy that whole section of the movie with the car chase, which is one of the most memorable scenes. Roby's growing discomfiture contrasts nicely with Francie's apparent calm as they go squealing around tight corners and narrowly missing oncoming traffic. It's a stressful sequence, especially thanks to some of the shots Hitchcock squeezed in to enhance the realism. And in the conversation that follows that chase, and the information that was revealed at the end of it, we do finally get a more natural back and forth, even though Roby's still maintaining his ruse. Plus, I like the humor of showing these two posh, idealized movie stars eating probably greasy chicken and drinking warm bottled beer out of a hamper, and then he pulls her down over the hamper to kiss her, which is romantic if you don't think about how uncomfortable it probably is. I know a lot of people make a big deal about the fireworks scene that follows this one. She essentially blackmails him into coming to her room, and then baits him with a diamond necklace. And I mean, baits him. She is taunting him with it, and there's a lot of tension at play here, different kinds of tension. Roby himself uses the term weird excitement, and yeah, the whole thing's kinda kinky, and that plus the infamous innuendo with the fireworks as we fade out makes for a sequence that, let me tell ya, is kinda tricky to explain to a little kid. I sure didn't make the connections the first couple times I saw the movie. I think I would appreciate the charged atmosphere more if I didn't find Francie's behavior and her persistent insinuations just a little annoying. And my impression is that Roby finds it annoying as well, which further kills the mood for me. So even though To Catch a Thief is typically branded a romance, and the Cary Grant-Grace Kelly matchup is considered one of the sexiest pairings ever, the relationship itself doesn't really do it for me. I also find the story lacking in significance, and compared to several other Hitchcock films, the cast of characters isn't as vibrant, and the dialogue isn't as witty, so To Catch a Thief isn't a favorite of mine. Lots of people do love it though, and that's fine. It is a good movie with many qualities to recommend it, in addition to how beautiful it looks. I like the spice added by the colorful supporting characters. The music by Lynn Murray suits the film very well. I enjoy the cat motif, with the black cat walking along the roof at the same time as the cat burglar, and Roby owning a cat, and Roby moving like a cat. When he sits next to a woman holding a birdcage on a bus, they start twittering at him, implying that he is a cat. And that's right before he turns to his other side to reveal he's sitting beside the deadpan director himself. And there are a few examples of Hitchcock's dark sense of humor, like when Roby gets candid about his and his housekeeper's activities in the Resistance.
She strangled a German general once.
Without a sound.
Extraordinary woman.
If you're looking for a movie that's lightweight and glamorous, especially if you have a thing for the south of France, this is right up your alley. Or if you don't typically like Hitchcock's subject matter, this might appeal to you more than some of his other films. There are no deviant characters, no evil plots, there's no foreign intrigue. Someone does get killed, but it's not violent or graphic, and the film's not particularly suspenseful. I will say that though it's never been a favorite for me, I've seen it several times in my life, and I've always liked it well enough. It's only been this most recent viewing that I was able to pinpoint some things that I don't like so much. Sometimes that happens. Obviously, all of us aren't going to have the same experience with a film, and sometimes our own experience with a film changes over time. So those are my current thoughts on To Catch a Thief, with a little reminder that the opinions I express on this channel are not necessarily permanent, and some views are subject to change. If you have thoughts on this movie, go ahead and share them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.